Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How you guys doing? I'm just chilling here, playing around with this Photoshop a little bit. This has been a long day. It's been a long day. I'm exhausted, and with my eyes just like staring at the screen for so long, just like playing around with a little bit with this video like all this day, I decided to redo introduction a little bit. Yeah, I made this like little thumbnail, like check this out, like look at this clickbait, guys, like just like come on, give me some credits, you know, this is pretty lovely, you know, high contrast, like little like brown and yellow in there, you know, like little icons sitting. Yeah, so I made this one. I'm just chilling and I thought, you know what, let's redo the introduction, because in the original video I recorded, I was mumbling, man. I was talking who knows about what. I was just like speaking about my dreams and stuff. Holy cow, like what was I thinking? So anyways, so I'm gonna do the introduction again now, and before we dive into math test hacking, I want to show you an episode, like a little excerpt from Game of Thrones, where Daenerys Targaryen will help me to explain something very important, essentially to explain why I'm doing this, what I'm doing right now. So without further ado, let's maybe take a look at this little scene.
Go on.
I don't know how to ride a dragon.
Nobody does until they ride a dragon.
I didn't add subtitles, but hope you guys heard it well. So yeah, so Jon Snow, you know, is scared for a moment, saying, I don't know, this is a big dragon over there, and I've never ridden one, and I'm afraid to try, you know. And I thought to myself, holy cow, isn't that exactly what all of us say always to everything? This like essentially a fear of like first times, and like, you know, because when you think about it, you know, it's really scary to try something new, because you might die trying. It requires a lot of energy to learn something. It requires a lot of mental energy. It requires a lot of time. It's really scary, and also you might have all sorts of beliefs about it. Like you see, it's a dragon. You know, it's like you see like programming, right? You heard all the stories. You know that it takes years to master, and it's so complex, and you know, and only the smart dudes with glasses do it. You know, so it has all sorts of images attached to it that makes it harder to start. So my job here, like my goal with this video, is first to have fun. That's most important. Second is to be Daenerys Targaryen a little bit and encourage whoever you might be, to encourage you to kind of like start exploring programming a little bit more, because it's so elegant, it's so simple, and it's so useful. Like almost in any possible scenario, like you might think of, maybe browsing Facebook and said, oh, I wish I could send, you know, 20 messages to my friends very quickly. You could do it. You can really do it using a little bit of code. And I want to show you using these very simple tools, which is Mozilla Firefox inbuilt tools, Notepad, and Google. Yeah, we're gonna Google things which we won't know. Using these three things, and of course the fourth being our head and reason and like thinking, with using these things we will hack a real math test, which we found online with my friend like a couple of weeks ago, and it offers $100 prize for the one that does it quickest. So yeah, we're gonna solve a real challenge using real code, but in such a simple way that I think you guys you'll be left in like awe, and you'll be just like tearing your hair out, being like, oh my god, this is awesome. Of course, this is my like perhaps a little bit optimistic expectation, but you never know. You never know. You gotta keep the optimism running. So I'm having fun, guys. I'm just chilling, just making this little video, putting it together. I hope you will find it as enjoyable as I do. So without further ado, let's get to the tutorial itself. So I'm gonna make this folder, math hacking. Okay, so this is gonna be a folder. We're gonna get some files in there in a bit as we go along. But yeah, so we're gonna dive right in, and I hope you guys find it useful in any possible sense. Alright, so there is the test. It's essentially 3 minutes 20 seconds test, right? And I did it you know, once at the very beginning, and I really screwed it up. You know, I did it a little bit too fast, and yeah, I didn't pass the threshold. So a couple of weeks ago, I decided to go on an adventure and really like hack it, essentially, like to write a code of some sort that would solve it for me. And I realized how simple it is at the end, that I don't know, being hit by this profound realization how simple this thing is, I decided to do this all over again and show you guys how easy this actually is, and try to demonstrate to you, you know, the simplicity of it. Let's dive right in. Let's fill some random information, because no one really cares about that. Okay. Just gonna put the random. So, alright, so essentially, the way we're gonna do it is we're gonna launch it for the first time, and we're gonna start, like, I'm gonna demonstrate some things, like what is the easiest way to hack. So there comes a test, right? There's some input fields, some problems to solve, there's a multiple choice at the bottom. But step number one, what you have to know, like in simple like HTML hacking, which is like simple web page hacking, like when you want to input information automatically or something like this, you right click, and it works on any browser. You know, you just click view page source. View page source. So there we go, a code which is behind all website, right? And sometimes it's complicated to read, and but sometimes it isn't. So for example, you can be lost in the beginning, but like if you persist, then for example we can search like, all right, where is this information stored, right? Where is the question stored? Like 143 minus 57. We can just simply copy this, Control F for find. We can paste this, and there we go. Like a search finds the question written right there. Let's maybe make this bigger, and we can see, oh, you know, there is a question, there is a question, there is a question. Like, you know, like that's you know, that's pretty nice. We can also see that it's being stored between some HTML tags. If you're not familiar, this is simply, you know, you can see that there is a tag opening here with the name span with some attributes inside. There's some text within it, and then the tag closes. That's essentially a simple HTML hierarchy, and everything is kind of like encapsulated by these tags. If you look closely, for example, you know, everything has a not as easy to demonstrate, but anyways, this is essentially how it works. So the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna take this, copy all this, come to our file folder. Actually, we're gonna open Notepad for the first time, and we're just gonna paste all of it, all of the source code in here. Right, there we go. That's all of it here. So essentially, we want to be able to open this this page outside the actual website, right? The timer is ticking. It's hard to get there. You have to fill a lot of information. We want this to be our playground, right? So what we can do, we can actually remove the clock. So by scrolling to the top, right? This is not the right thing. By scrolling to the top, like in this thing, we can look for things that relate to clock, right? So, for example, we can just start reading. We can see something called data attribute time, which is 200. And this weirdly looks familiar to 3 minutes 20 seconds, which if you count, it's actually 200 seconds. So we might try very simple things. We might try deleting this. Yeah? I don't know if this works simply as that, but, you know, let's delete this. What else? Where is a countdown timer, right? We can see countdown timer, so we might want to delete that. Right, we delete this. Also, we see some, we might look, we see there is some field set, edit countdown class. This seems something like countdown related, you know, we just delete this. We also can search and say countdown, perhaps. And there's nothing left with countdown. Let's Google timer, let's search timer, nothing with timer. So maybe by deleting this, we deleted essentially the clock from our like sample file. We can save this as HTML file. So we're gonna go to desktop where we have our folder, which is math hacking. We're gonna name it sample.html because this is HTML file. All right, so we saved it. math test is slowly running out, and as it does, we slowly just kind of like a sunset, we just watch it without any information. No, let's put something in. You know, like so this is gonna be -7. All right, so we're gonna submit at least one number in. And as the timer goes down, it's submitted, and in the email we can see our score, which is very, very low. All right, so now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to our folder, and we're gonna open the sample file which we just created. So essentially, maybe, oh, it opened in a different browser. Screw that. You know, let's look it up here. Or maybe, nah, I kind of want to keep everything in Mozilla, to be honest. Alright, so I copied the link essentially and opened it in a different browser, and let's see if it opens. So yeah, so it opens beautifully. You see there's no timer anymore. So that's very good. We now can play with this without, you know, timer running out at any given time. Okay, I can turn this off. Yeah, oh, by the way, yesterday I found some very nice music as well, like in the TV show In the End of the Fucking World. Maybe I'll add it when I edit this video, so you could guys, you know, can enjoy a little bit to make this a little bit more funky, you know, experience. All right, so we just learned, you know, inspect like view page source, right? So like view page source really gives you all the code behind it, and essentially we want to play around with this. So now we have opened like a copy of the test, but it's stored locally now. It's not anymore like in the internet technically. So like mathchallenge.nl is no longer there. It's in C drive of my computer. So we can safely play around with it. So now the next thing we're gonna use is this thing called inspect elements like function. So this is inbuilt in all browsers. So let's say this is on Mozilla right now. I can go to Chrome and also just click anywhere and like inspect, right? And also opens a window where we can play around with things. Anyways, but it's not that important on this browser. We're gonna use this one because you can see things a little bit better. It's used like, if you can see, like I can open this page and kind of like see where everything is. So like I can see where this body is. You see everything lights up like and shows spacings and stuff. It's very useful when you making your own websites. But what we're gonna look at today is actually this console thing. So maybe I'm gonna zoom it up a little bit. Okay, so it's a little bit. Okay. So essentially, console is an area where you can input code, literally in you know, as live session, you know, happens, you know, in your website. So I can really interact with all these features that we see here. I can extract this information. I can input information here using code over here. And that's essentially a feature of a browser. So what we're gonna do is actually start to play around with this. Now, how do we play around this? There comes the third thing. Google. So it doesn't really matter that you don't know programming. You can really Google most of the things and use like common sense to like make connections, like, you know, like put into actual code. So what we're gonna do now is kind of think what we want to do and then Google it. How should we do it? By the way, console is essentially works on JavaScript, which is a programming language, and therefore everything we search, we want to search in JavaScript instead of any other language. So let's look at the source of this website that we want to play. All right, so we're gonna think, what do we want to get? So first thing we might want to get is actually extract all these questions, right? So like I want these numbers, like I want to get this information into some sort of variable. All right, so I can look here and see where is these variables, and I can see, oh, it is in between these tags called span with the class of question, and it's everywhere. Like every question is like this. All right, so what we might Google is JavaScript, how to get text from inside tag, right? Get the pure text without HTML element by JavaScript. You know, all right, sounds very good. First result. So Stack Overflow is a great website for this. You know, at the beginning there's a question, and we're not that interested in the question because we pretty know what it is. We're more interested in the answer. And of course, it looks a little bit awful, but we look for general cues, like what to test. And we're like, okay, we look around and we say some comments. My hacky approach, like my quick way of doing, like my smart way of doing this, like Gabby's elegant approach. And then exploiting the fact. So we like, I don't want to exploit anything. I don't want too hacky approach. I want simple approach. So let's look at this one. And there's some function it created, and what it does, like document get element by ID, and we're like, oh, interesting. And something, and then this element dot inner HTML, and we're like, oh yeah, okay. Maybe I can play around something with this, and like get element by ID. But and we see there are some tags that have ID set. Unfortunately, we want not the ID, but we want the class. Anyways, by just looking at this, we might copy this, and we can put this in our console thing, right? So var element. So we create a variable with the name of element, and this document dot get element by ID. Let's delete this part, and let's start writing document dot get. And we automatically get suggestions. Get element by ID, get elements by class name, get elements by name, by tag name. And we're like, oh shit, you know, this is sick. Class name seems exactly what we want. Document get element by class name. And the class name was question. Okay. So in here we write question. Alright. Semicolon. Let's click enter. Alright, and let's see element. It succeeded. Let's see what element now returns. We click element. Okay, and now element has, we can see it's an array of 25 items, which is turns out to be exactly 25 questions there is, and we have these spans inside. Like, and as we hover over on top of it, we can see that each span is actually a different question thing. Alright, what we want next is not the span itself, but the text within it, right? So what we got is this entire thing, all 25 of them, but we want only the thing inside. We can look this at our search, again, and we can see that there's something with the element dot inner HTML. That might be interesting to use, and let's try it out. Let's go back. And let's try to write something like element dot inner HTML, and it doesn't work for some reason, right? We click enter, it says undefined, and we're like, this is not what I expect to happen. Now, from here we could probably notice that the thing that is different here is that that get element by ID returns only one object. So for example, if you look closely enough, right, we have 25 objects instead of one. So we might think maybe this inner HTML function works only for one object instead of for all 25 objects at once. So we might have to select just one of the objects first. So 0 is the first element, because everything starts to get enumerated in coding pretty much starting from 0 as the first item. So I dot, and let's write inner HTML, and we can see it auto-suggested already, because it's a possible ending, and we click enter, and there you go, right? So for element 0, which is first one, inner HTML gives us a string, which is the question. Right, beautiful. What do we do now? Well, we want all 25 of the questions extracted. So what do we do when we have a repeatable function that we want to do 25 times over and over and over again? Well, what we do is for loop, which is another very common thing to do in all programming languages. For loop allows you to repeat same function for a given number of times, and that's what we're gonna do just now. So first of all, we might want to create another variable called questions and make it an empty array. So this says that it's gonna be a number of things, so it's not gonna be just a number. So let's say work question will not be just a number, let's say 2, right? It's not gonna be that, it's gonna be an array of things. So it's like it's gonna have multiple value is stored inside. It's like a little library of things, right? So I create an empty one. Okay, that succeeded. And then I want to write a for loop. So for loop as well, you can Google. You go online and Google, just say, you know, repeat same function, for example, many times. You would get references to for loop, while loop, you know, and you choose whatever works best for you. And essentially the implementation, I don't want to Google this because this is a very beginner level stuff, and although I want to keep it relatively simple, I think this is too simple, too like it's too like everyone should know for loops, basically. That's my proposition. Like whatever you are, like no matter what layman you are, like or never seen a computer, I think for loops you have to know. This is such a basic building block. It's like bricks, you know? It's like yeah, literally it's like bricks of building anything. So we create a variable I, which is 0 initially, and we want to it keep on running for, and we saw it's 25, and we wanted to run it for 25 times. And after each iteration, we want it to increase by 1, and that's the notation to say that. These curly braces show, you know, what stuff will be repeated this many times, and inside what we write is, or we think, okay, what do we want to do? For each iteration, we want to add something to questions array. How do we do that? We go to Google. So we write JavaScript first. How to add variable to an array, which is what we have. And automatically using push to add to the end of the array, using unshift to add to the beginning of the array, using splice to add elements within an array. And we're like, no, end of the array is okay. So we want to use push function. We might also open some random code to see how you use push function, and we see, we create some array, which we did. Just ours is empty, while here is has 4 inputs, and then we use that array dot push and then value inside. All right, we might copy this as reference. We come out of here, we paste it, we say it's not fruits, it's questions is our name of our variable, dot push, and inside the variable that we want to add. And what do we want to add? We want to add element. Which element? Number I, right? Dot inner HTML. Yeah, exactly like we said here. Let's click enter, and we see success. It says 25 for some reason. Maybe that's how many times it iterated. And we can see questions. Click enter, and see we have an array of 25 elements of just strings with the actual questions. All right, so we moved quite a far ahead. But before we do anything else, let's take a little break, all right? Let's enjoy ourselves for a moment. What I suggest doing is make another notepad file, like a little text document. Yeah, and let's name it code.txt. Very simple. Like I said, we're gonna use just Google, a browser, and Notepad to keep it very low key. So what I recommend doing as well, as you play around here and you slowly find what works and what doesn't, you can then take something and copy it into Notepad to make a full complete code slowly as you go along. So for example, we played around and we found that this was useful, right? This first like extraction of spans that have the questions inside was useful. So I can just come out here and just literally just paste it there. Let's maybe do it like this. We say, oh, was it helpful to open and check what the element is? I don't know, like maybe not needed. This is maybe not needed, which was just playing around. We're just playing around. This was helpful to create an array of questions, right? Because this was not playing around. This actually made us progress further. What about this one? This one was as well pretty helpful, all right? So all these were very helpful for us. Right, so by executing this code, I can just copy. I can just like go down and oh, what is this? I can just like paste it and click enter, and all of it executes at once. So now I have a code which gets makes a variable called questions, which has all the questions stored inside. That's beautiful. What do we do next? What we might want to do next is actually solve these questions, right? So in JavaScript, if I write, let's say, 143 minus 57 and click enter, it solves it. It gives an answer immediately. So we might say, Jesus, what I wish is that this string, which is text, would be executed as if it was code, right? That's what I want. You don't have to know how it's done. I hope you get a hang of this. You just go out and Google JavaScript, how to execute text as code. Yeah, just like brain dead formulation. Execute JavaScript code stored as a string. Exactly. All right, that's exactly what we're gonna do. And we go down and see with eval, my script here function, eval function, where you, okay, eval, let's test it. So let's maybe write eval, and let's, in the string, because ours is a string, let's write something, I don't know, 5 plus 5, right? Enter, gives 10. That's beautiful. All right, let's try with our input. So like eval, and instead of writing it, let's write questions, and let's write the first question that we have, which is 143 minus 57. Click enter, and gives 86, exactly like the actual answer gives us. So like, all right, that's beautiful. What should we do with this? And we say, all right, we might need to write another for loop. Before we do that, we can create another variable called variable answers, which is an empty array again, and it's going to be very similar to last time. We write a for loop, which we actually can pretty much copy from here, because it's going to be so similar. So now instead of questions, we want to add our answers to answers variable, and instead of this, we want to add, we also can copy this because it just worked a second ago. So we want to add to the end of our answers variable, for every iteration, for every string of questions that we have, we're going to take the ith one and add it to answers variables. All right, so we click enter. All right, we can check what answers gives us now, and we can see that now it's an array of actual physical answers, like numbers that that we want to type in here. So that's pretty good. Pretty good. We moved quite a bit ahead. So as well, because it was useful, we can copy it here. So variable answers was useful for us. This was useful for us. There we go. All right. So at this point we have code which not only extracts information from internet, but also solves it, and we actually just use Google for that pretty much. Of course, we use some of knowledge for loops and maybe, you know, understanding what array is, but I think this is very low level information that you can learn online. Like for example, like generally understanding what array is, like these very basic knowledges you can learn on apps such as Solo Learn on I'm just gonna write it here. So like Solo Learn, it's on Android and like and iPhones, anywhere. It's a great app, and you can literally learn all these basics, all these for loops and arrays in one day. Like, I'm no kidding, like literally so quick. And then you can like start playing around with Google. All right, so I hope you're getting a hang of this. Does it ring anything? Like how actually simple this thing is. We have everything. Like this is your browser, Google and Notepad that we're using. You know? Like, yeah. Anyways, all right. And we actually hacking the thing. We might even won $100 by the end of the day. Like if this keeps on going like this nicely. All right. Next step. We have the answers. What we want to do now is actually input the answers into these fields. And we say, all right, you know, how do we do that? Let's look at the source code again, and let's find where those text boxes essentially are. What we can do is actually click one, right click, and click inspect element. This is how do I? It's in there, but it's very awful. Okay. Alright, so this thing is input, ID, edit, exam. You know, this is essentially the thing. Like, it highlighted that this thing, this little input is called input with ID, edit, exam. Alright, so we just saw, and maybe that's gonna be enough because it's a little, like, looks very awful, to be honest. I closed the entire thing. Inspect element. Console. Alright, so let's go back to source code. And we saw its input, so we can, like, look for inputs, and we see, there is a input. Type text, ID, edit exam 01, name, value. Alright, there we go. That's where it is, right? And we can see others are here. Alright, we can think, how do we identify them? And by looking at this, we can say, oh, it has ID, but ID is always different. It goes from 0, it goes from edit exam 01, 02, 03, it becomes 1, 2, you know, it's like, we probably could name it all, but let's see if we can do it in any easier way. Like, essentially we want a list of those IDs, would be nice, right? What we could do is probably get elements by tag name and just get all inputs there are, right? We could do that. Another way with doing it, we can get all the to get all the labels and get all labels for attributes. So you can see that label has something called for attribute, and what it does is actually, so when I click this question, you see how the this input box like lit up. So I click this one lit up. So in such way I can really know which text box, like this input box, belongs to which question. So I really can't be certain that I don't put answer of this one in like a wrong text box. Like maybe I write answer to this one here, and that's not too good. So what we might want to do is extract information from these labels for attribute, and then use it to identify all the inputs. So it's a bit longer pathway, but we can do it very simply. So we can write var L very shortly because it's a temporary like thing. So L for labels, and we can write document dot get element by tag name. Yeah. Alright, and tag name is gonna be label. So we got all the labels. Maybe let's try inputs as well. Maybe let's try inputs and see how input and see how many did we get. L HTML collection. We got how many? In order to test how many, we can also click L.length. 23. So it's not 25, and I wonder. Because these are not inputs, and so right, so inputs is not in, so this is an input. We cannot use solely inputs just for that. So therefore we have to use, you see, there are more inputs in there that from what we actually want to use. So we'll do smarter. We'll get all labels, and let's see how many of those there are. 25 labels. So this is exactly a label for each actual thing we want to use. And now what we want to get is value of its for attribute, right? Because it would give us an ID of input that it refers to. And we can also Google this. So JavaScript get attribute value. Get attribute essentially returns the value. Alright, get attribute, element.get attribute. Alright, there we go. Simple as that. I think what we'll have to do is also run run a little for loop. So for, yeah, lovely music playing in the background, guys. I really hope I'll be able to add some nice one to be running in the background, especially with all these like little for loop writings, which take a little second. Alright, so yeah, so write another for loop. I forgot, we also should make a variable where we store them. So let's create a variable called labels. and make it an empty array again. And what we're gonna write here is labels.push, like we learned already. And what we want to add is L, right? Number I. So like elf or ith label dot get. Let's check again how it's called. Get attribute, literally. Get attribute 4, because it's stored in the 4 attribute here. 4, right? We want this. Also, we could have tested it before to see if it works, but let's hope it works right off the bat. Let's click enter. Oh, a bracket missing. All right, so we go click up. Oh no, we click here and we click up to kind of like get the previous input we did, and we see there's a bracket, there's just one bracket over here, so I missed a bracket. Click enter. Right, it worked. We can test labels, click enter, and it's say labels are now like this nice array of all the IDs of the inputs that we have. All right, so that was pretty helpful. We can instantly copy this, take a little break at the same time. We kind of copy this down because this did help us progress a little bit. Also, technically, after each one, you should add like a semicolon. But, yeah. Alright. So we have this. Now what we want is actually to input information in here. And we can, like, try to think how do you do that. And, by looking at this, like input, type text, ID, name, value. Value is empty. We're like, oh. Okay, maybe this is where we want to input information. Size 60, max length, and there is no space in between to add it. You know, this is the only tag, and so value must be the place where you input information in. So we can Google again JavaScript, input change value. I don't know, like just we want to change the value of an input. Change the value of a field text. Get element by ID. Get the value of this is not very clear. Maybe change value of input on chain. What is this? Maybe this. But we can see instantly that it's something document get element by ID. So identify the element dot value equals something. Let's try this. Let's take one of the IDs. Let's take the first one. Say this is gonna be our ID. Let's take this. Oh. Or maybe let's take it from here. Let's take a proper ID. This one. Right, of this input. Let's come out here and let's write document.get element by ID. We write the ID, which is this, dot value, and let's say equals hello. Let's make it a string. Hello everyone. Let's see if this works. Enter. And yeah, and we can see hello everyone just jumped in there. So it definitely works. Dot value is what we want to use. So now what we want is in all of these inputs over here, we want to input information from our answers. Except here, right? Or maybe we can, or maybe let's first try to do all at once. All right, so because this is multiple choice, so slightly different, but let's first try everything at once. So we write another for loop. There, var I equals 0, I is less than 25, so to make it loop 25, increases by 1. And what we want to do is, so let's just speak it out. We want the value of a certain input. So we like, alright, so inputs, where do we store them? We store them under labels. So like document. Oh, first we have to identify the input. So we say var input is equal to document dot get element by class. ID, right? Because we store IDs, and it's gonna be labels I. Right? So we're gonna get labels. This is labels, and I. So it's gonna be this one in first iteration, this in second iteration, and we're gonna loop through all the essentially inputs. Okay, so then with the input, we want to change its value to an answer that we just got. Answers I. Yeah? And let's click enter, just hope for the best. Let's click enter, and we can see very nicely that all the numbers went in here. Yeah, this is very, very lovely. And even some of these numbers went in. Even some of the what is that? Some of the multiple choice kind of went in, right? These didn't, and let's see why they did not. So let's open our answers variable, and let's look it up more closely, and let's get to the point where it gives the answers for those. And alright, so 3, 4, 15, 351, these went in. This didn't went in because this was the answer, 80.958. And you can see that it did not go in because in the answers, like like number to number, like answers were not added because there was no direct answer. Like we had to round this before, like, to get one of these options, and therefore it didn't work in this scenario and in this scenario, right? Because it's 1041.4, but none of the answers is actually 0.3999 or whatever. Alright, so we have a problem. We have a last problem to solve, that sometimes we have to round this a little bit to get the answer that we want. And there comes some creativity, right? Again, like, alright, how do I solve this problem? These are rounded a little bit. How do I solve this problem? And to keep this test, like this little tutorial, as simple as I can, I think I'll have to stop here, however. And yeah, I know this is a little bit shitty tutorial to kind of like show everything halfway through and just like not end it. But the problem is that this becomes a little bit tricky. It takes a little bit more time because rounding in JavaScript is actually pretty tricky, because JavaScript is awful in in like getting the numbers right. Because like see this problem. It's easy problem. It's easy multiplication. But if you look at the answer that it gives this. Like, how by multiplying 78 points? Oh wait, no. I'm showing the wrong thing. I meant this one. Yeah, I meant this one. 12.7 times 82. That's a simple multiplication thing, and it gives a result which is 10.41.39999. Let's come on. This is simple multiplication, guys. But JavaScript is really bad at multiplying for some reason, and you really have like to have pretty weird code to make it round things well. And I have it here. Like, this is the code that I got when I hacked it first time. And in order to do this, you might want to have like a function like this, which is actually rounding numbers for you. And what I did in the code, I might be able to share this code like in the description somewhere. But essentially, what I did here is I wrote a code which is a little bit more complicated. That's why I said I think we'll have to avoid it. But a code which takes an answer and rounds it to 4 digits after the comma, 3 digits, 2 digits, 1 digit, then starts rounding like these guys, like tens, hundreds, and keeps on rounding till it gets one of the options. And if it doesn't get one of the option, it guesses the answer based on it chooses the closest answer, like closest option to your answer, by taking differences and just evaluating like them. But it's a little bit tricky code, and I decided that for the purposes of this, like, to keep it this really low key, and really simple, really done with just Google and just like very simple, very primitive like thought process. I think I have to stop here. The only thing what we will gonna do is write a code to click a button for us. Yeah. So as well, we can take a look at this, and we can try to solve this using Google as well. Like, how do you click a button with JavaScript? We can do something smarter as well, a little bit, if knowing more about the structure of HTML. And if we knew more, is actually that this entire thing, these answers and these questions, by clicking the submit button, will be sent to another web page where it's going to be evaluated and, you know, weighted, and the score is going to be given and emails is going to be sent. So essentially, this is something called a form, right? And if you look here and if we search for a word form, yeah, we can, there's many search results, but we can see a tag called form. And form, which is has action method post, so it means that this entire thing is gonna be sent as a form. Like, it's essentially how HTML kind of works a little bit. So what we might do is not click a button, but submit this form directly. So it's kind of like more direct way of doing this. Instead of clicking the button, we submit the form. Like, it's a bit more low-level kind of like approach to this, kind of really like hitting it at the roots instead of like you know, at like higher levels. So it's more robust. So in this case, by knowing a little bit, we can just like Google JavaScript, how to submit a form. Yeah, submit method. I like how everything is like really straightforward these days. How to submit a form using JavaScript. This is exactly what we want to find. We scroll to the answers, set the name attribute of your form to the form, and your code will work. What is this? Document get element by ID, the form, and submit. Alright, so we have to select the tag. Form, date attribute, action, method, ID. It has an ID. Let's scroll a little bit. This is the ID of the form, which is called FlowTrader's math test form, which is very self-explanatory. And let's just quickly test if it works. So inspect element to get this, console to open this, and let's just write document dot get element by ID. Let's write the ID of the form dot submit. Let's click enter. Something didn't work. Unrecognized path. Location debugger eval. Yeah, what happened, I wonder? Hold on. Submit. Unrecognized path. Alright, let's watch a page source of this. Maybe I deleted something I shouldn't have. Let's see, where's the form? Form, this is the form. ID, FlowTrader's math test form. Yeah, I wrote everything right. Yeah, I'm not sure what is filer. Unrecognized path. Debugger eval code. Element ID. I don't know. I don't notice anything wrong with this, to be honest with you guys. Alright, let's try to solve this, and let's actually Google what this means. This is another common example, and when some nice shit happens, you just have no clue. Okay. Uncaught exception, file error, unrecognized path. Let's just take a look at some first results. Maybe I found the problem. Input type file. JavaScript doesn't retrieve the full. Right, this. Alright, but okay, so let's say I don't know why, to be honest with you guys, but this doesn't work. Let's try maybe like this, like variable form equals, and let's just copy this part. Alright, okay, form. Alright, so we created a variable called form, which is actually like this tag, what we want to do. We selected it, right? And what we want to do is like form.submit. So is the problem submit? Oh, I have to write it using like this, enter. Yeah, it doesn't work for some reason. Function submit. Alright, so it doesn't work on this browser. I did it yesterday on Google Chrome, but let's say it doesn't work, right? For any reason. Maybe it's not your fault at all, but it doesn't work. What do? We can Google another thing. It's like we can Google, for example, JavaScript. How to click a button. Input, submit, like click a button, let's say. But it's not, to be honest, it's not entirely a button, to be honest with you, because if you look at the, what is like submit the test, which is kind of button, is actually an input of type submit. Yeah, but let's try how to click a button. Click. All right, so we have some click method. All right, so input type checkbox and document get element by ID dot click. All right, so let's try a different approach, right? This approach, which typically should work, maybe something with Mozilla over there, doesn't work, and it's fine, you know. Who are we to judge, you know, like what these like extremely intelligent programmers decided that maybe this error has to, you know, we have no clue what's going on behind this. We really just low level, just like simple guys just trying to get $100. So we try something else. So let's write document.getElement by ID, and let's see the ID of this submit test button. And ID is edit submit. Oh, I have to write it in these little guys. I don't know how it's called. It's like quotation marks. I don't know. Yeah. All right. So and dot click. Enter. Did we click it? Yeah, I'm not sure, because if we actually did, this should have submitted the form, but I don't think it did. Yeah, it should. I don't... Guys, what do we do? How do we deal with this? Firefox console form submit doesn't work. Cannot submit form from JavaScript on Firefox. It seems form submit doesn't work. Let's see what the solution is to this. Firefox doesn't send a form without any button inside. If you includes a submit button inside your code, must work. And I think, alright, so it's actually Mozilla's like problem apparently. You'll need a submit button in a form if you wanted to submit a... Well, we do have it. I'm pretty sure we have it. You know? It's right there. Yeah, very strange. Very strange, because this is our button. Yeah. Anyways, you know, rough. Programmer's life is really hard. Sometimes you just don't know what you do wrong. Form submit. Yeah. Alright, so what we're gonna have to do though, because clicking a button didn't work, apparently, submitting a form didn't work, there might be something, could it be something we did wrong with remember when we kind of like simplified the website a little bit and we deleted some of these elements up there? Like we deleted timer, maybe we deleted something we shouldn't have deleted, but I did it yesterday and it worked fine. So, alright, what we'll have to do is trust the code and go for the live hack, and we're gonna do it not in Mozilla, because Mozilla for some reason seems to be choking on this a little bit. I liked it because it has like very big like editing screen, while Chrome doesn't. We'll have to however go for it and like trust the code. And alright, so we're gonna do this. Yeah, sorry for this hiccup, guys, you know. It was going so well, and then suddenly I met an enemy a bit too hard to conquer this easily. So form.submit, that's essentially how we're gonna do it. Alright. To be honest... Oh, you see, here we don't yet have didn't copy the code of inputting the... screw me. Alright, I think... Shit, alright, I think we'll have to write something here by ourselves, because stupid me, I got distracted and then I forgot to write like a for loop to input all the information in. So let's quickly do this here. Goddamn, you can see, guys, that I'm doing this for the first time, like really like just slipping in the, like when no one would be slipping, I was just like, oh, sorry guys, you know, I forgot to start recording. Am I recording? That At least, man. All right. So, yeah. So the way we did it is var input equals document dot get element by ID, and ID is labels I. Yeah. Okay, and then input dot value is equal to answers. This should work, right? Let's let's you know what? Let's copy all this code and let's execute it all at once here. Enter. Yeah, everything seemed to be working. Yeah, let's maybe test it like this. Let's delete some and let's run the code again and see if these like values jump back in, and they do. So code seems to be working, and of course if I copy it with the bottom part, it should not work because this was not working previously, and it doesn't. So okay, let's maybe do it like this. Let's try a test again, you know? Let's try a real thing. We have a code written. It sits there in Notepad. It's not full, right? Because it doesn't properly solve the multiple choice question. But look how elegant this is. Look how simple this is. Like, my proposition is that even a guy who, or a girl, who knows no programming will get like what's going on here. And let's name ourselves like welcome. No, let's not talk to the people testing this, you know. Sorry, or like let's write sorry about testing my code here. Yeah, because there is people working behind this, you know, and we're really wasting the time over here, so we have to apologize at least a little bit. All right, so because I use this email so many times and I don't want, and I want to see the results. I'm gonna use this like little trick, you know, like you add plus and you write something down and it kind of like gets interpreted as different email, however it gets into my email. I write just like a random number here. I agree to terms and conditions. Okay, start the test. So before we start the test, we click inspect element, right? Because we want to have console ready. We're gonna take only the top part of the code because this function didn't work previously for us in our like side thing, so I'm gonna like do it later. Alright, so we have it here, we have it all typed down here, all the code, like look the beautiful code we just managed to do, like just like just in an hour, like exactly an hour. That's how much it took us. Alright, let's click start test. There comes a test, you know, how hard it is. Like, oh, mom, you know, like, I need a calculator, help me. No, not the calculator. Enter. Ah, there you go. Pop, there goes. In the live session, this is actual real test. All the numbers went in. 3 of the numbers went in. These didn't because probably they were not rounded well. And I already can see this is going to have, you know, 3 numbers after the comma. And we can see, like, answers and what is going to be 20th? Yeah, 74.572, right? And none of these answers like really work. But you know, let's be a little bit cheeky. Let's kind of like input the numbers here in this 20, 21, 22, 23 answers. 23rd. 1049.1, so 49. This is gonna be it. Yeah, so there goes all the numbers. You see some of the numbers are very rounded, like very poor. Like, look at this. We have to fix this. Like, this needs fixing. And but like I said, it's a little bit complicated to do, and you have like to have this before. Although, let's see if we can quickly pull this off. Let's quickly update this code. Let's add this function, which is a function I copied from internet, which is a little bit too complicated to explain why it works. Therefore, like, that's why I'm rushing. I just want us guys to win, you know. I'm like getting little you know, little greedy over there. So what I want now again is, so what we're gonna do is take this code as well. So what this code does, it's written from my code before, like so answers. So this code over here, if you look at it, it says for x in answer, so it means for each answer, essentially round the answer, right? Yeah. So math round. Oh, I don't even need this. I see my function is this smart. I don't even need this. Only this is the code that I want. Ah, this is nice. Past Marius was smart. So this should round all the answers to a bit nicer numbers. So let's now take all of it and let's execute it again, and it should be a bit nicer. All right, let's click enter and see it rounded off everything very nicely with this little snippet just that we added here, which is a little bit more complex. As you can see, how much time we have? We have 50 seconds. Let's input these again. What was that? This and wait, shit, I forgot. Is it this one? Screw me. 74. Yeah. All right, so we got the numbers, and we have 35 seconds, and let's of course we could have done way quicker, but I really want to test if this little snippet like submit thing works for us. Let's click enter on the site, try submit it in console. Let's click enter. Ah, and it worked. You see, guys, it worked. Oh yeah, you will receive test results in a couple of minutes by email. Ah, so you see, guys, that's pretty interesting, right? This code didn't work in our like you know, in our like what is this, like kind of like playground. It didn't work for some reason which I can't understand yet, but in real test it did work, maybe because it was like properly set up how it actually is. So I want to propose, guys, that this code works, all of it, you know. All right, now the most interesting part. What's our score? Let's jump back here. Let's refresh this thing. Flow traders, we got a new result coming in. Let's scroll down. Ah, 100%. There we go. We scored 100. All the answers are correct. Yeah, this is very lovely. With last minute additions, we literally just like fixed up the code. We added this little snippet literally as the test was happening. Yeah, and we managed to get 100%. Yeah, in just about an hour. Of course, it takes a little bit of time when doing it for the first time, but I just want to show how easy coding actually is. So hopefully, by watching this, I don't know if you got inspired. I definitely did. Like, I had a lot of fun. I didn't think I could make this in an hour. First time I did it, it took me about 6 hours probably. I was experimenting with all sorts of things, but in an hour, yeah, this is, and $100. Like, imagine if you actually win this. So this is one of the best wages like one could earn, like $100 in an hour, guys. Yeah, man. I really hope that. Wait, what was the guy's name? How did we name the dude? Oh, look at this. Dear, sorry about testing my code here. Congratulations with your great result. Yeah, so Mr. Sorry really making the monies over here, you know. All right, so this is gonna be it for today. I hope you guys find it fun. Like I said, I definitely did myself, and yeah, let's go do something useful today. You know, it's still 2 p.m. You know, let's get some work done. All right, all right, all right. See you guys.